What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Stochastic Best Ball channel. My name is Matt Savoca, and I'm here with my buddy Nick Lepre. We are continuing our divisional breakdowns, going team by team, introducing you to all the fantasy relevant players on every single team. Today, we are doing the NFC North. Nick Lepre, what's up, man? Follow him at Notorious FNTSY. How are you today?
I'm doing pretty solid here, and I'm pretty excited to talk about this division. Yet again, we have another division that may not be the most interesting for real life, but a division that is very interesting in terms of fantasy football because all of these teams have very fantasy relevant players.
Absolutely. I actually find this division fascinating, right? Because we have a clear favorite in the betting world, but then we have
Mm.
another team that has a changing in coaching style and philosophy in the Minnesota Vikings. We have the Detroit Lions who are kind of putting something together, and then we have the Bears who are just like a joke right now. I don't know what else to say. I think it's a fascinating division from a win total perspective and a fantasy relevance perspective as well. So let's dig into this one. Ready to go?
Yep, ready to go.
All right. I think I said this before. Follow him at Notorious FNTSY. Follow me at Draftaholic. And guys, it helps us out when you like this video. Subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification bell so that you know when we're going live. You guys know what to do. The Chicago Bears, I've already started disparaging them, and we're not even 2 minutes into this stream. But they have a 6.5 win total in the sports books right now. They have a new head coach, a new offensive coordinator, a new defensive coordinator. Matt Eberflus comes over from the Indianapolis Colts, where he was the defensive coordinator from 2018 to 2021. They got Luke Getzey from the Packers coaching tree coming in as OC, and Alan Williams, also a Colts specialist, coming in as a defensive coordinator. Now, David Montgomery is really the main fantasy relevant player. Darnell Mooney was about the 65th overall pick earlier in spring best ball drafts. Now he's moving up into like the 55 to 58 range. No one's really excited to draft Chicago Bears, all of them outside the top 50. How are you feeling about this running game? Is David Montgomery a bell cow?
See, initially, yes, I did think that, but now I'm starting to get a little bit worried because of all these reports that are coming out of camp where David Montgomery's getting special teams work and stuff. That's not good, in my opinion, right? If you think David Montgomery's a workhorse running back, then it's pretty unlikely that he should be on special teams, right? It is. I like
I
David
agree.
Montgomery, the player. I'm still fine drafting David Montgomery where he's going in best ball because he's going at pick 55 in redraft leagues where this guy's like a third or fourth round pick in some drafts because people reach up for him, you'd there's no reason to do that. So do not do that in a redraft league. In best ball, I'm fine taking him where he's going because I think there is upside that maybe this offense is just significantly better than we thought with the new head coach without Matt Nagy, Matt Eberflus. Like maybe things do get significantly better. Justin Fields hasn't looked the best in training camp, but maybe he does get much better when it's actually time to play the games because not everyone is the best in training camp. So I think that it is entirely possible that David Montgomery absolutely torches his ADP and is the bell cow back on the team. But there's also the shot that there's more Khalil Herbert. So I'm fine drafting David Montgomery, but I'm not someone who's trying to get overly exposed to Montgomery.
So I'm this person. This is this. Peter Overzet was on our best ball stream on a Monday live draft this week and talking about how he has 0% David Montgomery. Completely agrees with the way that you're seeing the situation. I am the person this year taking a stand on David Montgomery, saying that he is the best, the most talented player in that backfield. Him playing on special teams, no, it doesn't sound good. Absolutely not. This is really my way of being different in the mid rounds where everyone else is going to Gabe Davis and Allen Robinson. And I like taking those players even as they continue to creep up in ADP. David Montgomery is the player where I'm just going to take a stand this year and say that Khalil Herbert's a fine little player, but I don't think that he's going to take away fully from Montgomery's opportunity. I think you're seeing a 60-40 split at worst for Montgomery, and it could be closer to 70-30. In carries per game last year, Justin Fields was seventh in the NFL. among quarterbacks, 6.0. So people are getting excited about the fact that there's some rushing upside available to you. And he's going outside the top 125 picks in most fantasy drafts in best ball this year. So are you in on Justin Fields? Mooney as a pass catcher. After that, I mean, you could tell me if you have any favorite wide receivers or tight ends after Darnell Mooney. How are you feeling about this passing attack?
Yeah, I am definitely in on Darnell Mooney. I've been in on him all off season. I talked a couple days ago when we were on that stream with Pete Overzet that, I'm starting to get a little bit worried about Mooney because of this training camp footage. And then I think literally like 12 minutes after the stream, a video comes out of them when they're playing at their actual home field and they're having that like big training camp thing where it's like basically a game. And Justin Fields threw a dime to Darnell Mooney. He makes like a toe tapping catch. It's like, all right, you know what? Maybe getting mad about one training camp footage video on Twitter that you see for 6 seconds shouldn't be everything. So Darnell Mooney is a very talented player. There is very little competition in this offense
That's
for
for
targets.
sure.
Like you said, like pick your other favorite receiver. Which one of these guys even moves the needle? Byron Pringle, Velus Jones, Das Newsome. Like none of these guys are really all that talented. I would argue the second best player in terms of target share in this offense is going to end up being Cole Kmet, the tight end. So I'm not really worried about anyone taking away volume from Darnell Mooney. And I think just strictly from a volume standpoint, this guy might be a top 12 receiver because he just sees so many targets.
It's kind of how we're seeing it in our best ball mania rankings. Obviously, that's going to take ceiling projection much further into account than say cash rankings, and in
Yeah.
our DraftKings Millie and our drafters rankings. We should mention them since they are today's sponsor of the show. We're actually suggesting you be bullish on this Chicago Bears team because everyone has counted them out.
Mhm.
If you look at our RDP ranking, which is our suggested draft spot for every single player, it's slightly ahead of ADP for these top four Chicago Bears players. I'm not saying they're must have players. I'm saying that because of their diminished draft stock compared to their expected volume, we are discounting them in best ball drafts. I'm not saying go all in on every single platform on the Chicago Bears, but I am saying the upside and where we're drafting them are slightly incongruous. That's important little edges that we need to grind, especially if we're doing multiple best ball drafts like on drafters.com. We move on to the Detroit Lions, who in the sports books have a similar win total. It's a little bit different if you look around different books. Check out oddshopper.com if you're looking for the best odds, by the way, on these things. The consensus is 6.5 wins. That's what I'm seeing. Dan Campbell returns after starting as head coach in 2021. They have a new offensive coordinator in Ben Johnson, promoted. He was the tight ends coach. Yeah. Dan Campbell, a former tight ends coach, likes tight ends coaches. No surprises there. Uh, he took over play calling mid-season last year. Dan Campbell did, and it changed the nature of this offense. I've been big in talking about these game splits because DeAndre Swift, in particular, saw his targets go down. You could argue that was because partially of injuries, but he is the one that you need to pay premium draft capital for. He's going within the top 15 picks. We had a long conversation on Monday's live best ball stream about DeAndre Swift and his upside in tournaments. So we got to talk about this one specifically for best ball. Break this down in terms of ceiling for DeAndre Swift for me.
Yeah, to me, the ceiling for DeAndre Swift is a top 5 running back in fantasy football because of the amount of receiving volume that I believe he is going to receive. Now, if you are talking about your redraft league that's a standard league, then obviously DeAndre Swift isn't as interesting. But on these best ball sites where it's full PPR on drafters or half PPR on these other websites, the upside for DeAndre Swift is very, very high. And I fully expect him to be the clear lead back on this team. Now, it is still kind of up in the air to me how much usage we will see out of Jamal Williams because we saw games last year where Jamal Williams was a legitimate threat to DeAndre Swift's upside, and then there was games where Jamal Williams was like not a threat at all. He was barely even doing anything. So I think that it is a bit confusing on really how to expect DeAndre Swift to finish. But in best ball, you are hunting, in my opinion, for the most upside. When you draft DeAndre Swift, you are assuming that everything is going to go right. And if everything does go right, then DeAndre Swift could finish as a top 3 back. The reason why I don't say he's going to be the number 1 back is because I think if Christian McCaffrey and Jonathan Taylor end up healthy, it would be very difficult for any of these running backs really to eclipse those guys. So I think DeAndre Swift is a pretty safe bet with a decent amount of upside. And we've talked about this a decent amount. And I don't know if you determined that this was the phrase we wanted to use or whoever did, but we've been talking about him as the Alvin Kamara of the NFC North. And I think that is a correct way to describe
Kamara North, that's a Savoca trademark. Happy to say so, but
him.
yeah, I'm hoping for that. I don't want to, make this. I don't misconstrue my point here. I think DeAndre Swift's athletic profile matches the profile of someone who eventually becomes an RB1 in fantasy. Still just 23 and a half years old, upper percentile speed score, burst score, decent college dominator rating. Part of that is because he was in a fantastic Georgia offense. His yards per carry of 6.2 in the SEC is just ridiculous. Now we got to talk about volume. When you project volume, for me, the way I'm looking at this, I'm worried about the opportunities. I just am. But we've outlined the ceiling case. And then the floor case is one where we can't worry too much about it when we're taking the chance on him in the second round. I think he is a little bit riskier at his ADP than some people are saying, but I think he's still a fantastic player, and I certainly am going to be at or above the field on him. I don't want to miss out on an opportunity. I do think Javonte Williams and him are kind of similar archetypes this year, and I wouldn't suggest, unless you're going for a very kind of fragile build, taking both of those players because they both have fantastic profiles, but volume concerns in the second and third round. This receiving game, I think, has a lot of upside here, like sneaky good. The offensive line getting better, and I know Jared Goff has his shortcomings, but you got Amon-Ra St. Brown, who is getting lots of positive buzz out of training camp as being that locked-in number one guy. You got TJ Hawkinson, a world-class prospect at the tight end position, who just needs to stay healthy. Speaking of world-class prospect, you had Jamison Williams, who needs to get healthy. DJ Chark, kind of same thing, a former first-round pick added into the mix. This is so much better than what they had trotting out there last year in the passing game. As long as this group gets and stays healthy, Jared Goff has some serious weapons outside of DeAndre Swift.
Yeah, and there seems to be a lot of negativity I've noticed out of people towards Amon-Ra St. Brown because, oh, he only did it when Hawkinson was hurt, when DeAndre Swift was hurt. Well, do you really think that Jared Goff, who peppered the football to Amon-Ra St. Brown, is just going to fucking forget that that happened and just not feed him this season? It's very clear that DJ Chark is a good player, right? And it's very clear that he's getting buzzed out of camp for a reason. And I like DJ Chark at pick 155, 160, 165 sometimes when he falls. But I also like Amon-Ra St. Brown significantly earlier in the draft because I do believe, like all the reports are saying, that it is very clear that St. Brown is the number one wide receiver in this offense. And I think you should be drafting him like that. Again, I understand the Lions stink is on the team. Dan Campbell said, if you guys watched Hard Knocks, that he doesn't care if you have one ass cheek and three toes. He's going to beat your ass. So I love Dan Campbell. He gets me very fired up when you watch Hard Knocks. And I really think that this is a Lions team that is going to destroy their expectations and finish ahead of the 6.5 win total. And even if that doesn't happen, when they're down in games, guess what has to happen? You got to throw the fucking football. And Amon-Ra St. Brown is going to be a huge benefactor of that. I love St. Brown. I'm not as in on the Hawkinson train, but I understand why people like him. And I think he's going to finish around where people are drafting him as the tight end 7, 8. And then in terms of the other players, you seem to be very in on Jamison Williams. You can talk about him in a second. I'm not as in on him because I just don't feel comfortable knowing exactly when he's going to come back. He could come back in October. It could be all the way in November. I think it's fine to take a shot or two on him, but I'm not as invested as it seems that you are from our drafts. But what do you think about Jamison Williams real quick?
100%. The field doesn't know how to value future spike weeks. Jameson Williams could have a lost season, right? He could have a setback, but you're drafting him in a place where you're not expecting the median expectation in terms of points per game at that spot is so low. He has an upside factor that is very different than many other players in his similar draft round range.
Mhm.
The Detroit Lions were well below average in our advanced stats on Stokastic.com and in game adjusted rush percentage. They were actually, I'm looking at this differently now. Towards the end of the year, they started to turn into a more pass heavy team. In pace of play, pretty middle of the road still. I'm not saying they're going to be an aggressive offense all of a sudden, but with these changes in the talent pool and the changes in the way that they were scheming games, I actually think there is some aggressiveness upside for this team, especially when you add some firepower like a healthy Jamison Williams. Before we move on to the two main contenders in this division, just want to remind you guys, like this video, subscribe to the channel, give Nick a follow at Notorious FNTSY. I'm Draftaholic over there as well. Always much appreciated. And speaking of appreciated, we want to thank our presenting sponsor today, drafters.com. You see the banner on the bottom of the screen if you're watching over on YouTube. If you're already signed up for sites like Underdog Fantasy and need more action, Drafters is here to help. Our new partnership with Drafters is really exciting because for a limited time, when you make your first deposit of at least just $20, it's at least 20, but just 20, you get a free $20 ticket, so they'll match it, and that'll get you into the Drafters $1 million Best Ball Championship. To claim your free ticket, you just got to click the link in the video description below or go to Drafters and use promo code STOCHASTIC, STOKASTIC. If you put in 2 entries to the $1 million contest over there on Drafters, you will get the Best Ball Draft Kit from Stochastic.com, a $70 value, which includes the fantasy football and best ball rankings for 2022, absolutely free. That's promo code Stochastic over on Drafters. The Minnesota Vikings, one of the most fascinating teams to me in the NFL this year. I think people are completely underrating how different this offense is going to be. I think they're going to be up-tempo. I think they are going to be pass-heavy. I think they are going to be a team that could have a third receiving option, be very valuable in fantasy football. That means outside of superstars like Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen, and of course the running back Dalvin Cook, people are starting to get really interested in Irv Smith. I actually like another player. How are you feeling about, let's start with the upper end, the Justin Jefferson, the 2 first-rounders, Justin Jefferson and Dalvin Cook in the first round. Do you have a preference for the two? Is it a strong preference? How are you feeling about these two and their ceiling upside, specifically in a best ball case?
Yeah, definitely much more in favor of Justin Jefferson. We've seen on some websites that Justin Jefferson has surpassed Cooper Kupp as the wide receiver 1 in ADP. That has yet to happen yet on Drafters, but on other websites that has happened. And that's not something that's super surprising to me because of the fact that people are a little bit worried about Matthew Stafford's arm, that, oh, is this tendonitis? It doesn't seem like that's actually the case, but people get nervous, right? If you're going to draft a guy in the top 3 of your fantasy draft, you should be pretty sure that their quarterback is, fully healthy, right? It's going to be the same as last
Yeah.
season. So I get why people are a little bit worried. I'm not as worried as some people, but yeah, I think that Justin Jefferson has claimed to kind of the Iron Throne as the number 1 wide receiver in this, or not in this offense. He obviously is that in this offense, but in the NFL and in all of fantasy football. So I definitely would prefer Justin Jefferson. And then in terms of talking about Dalvin Cook, he's one of those guys where now again, I know maybe you don't think this way, but I think he's going to miss 2 or 3 games every year. You just bake that in and you understand that, hey, when this guy's healthy, he could be the number 1 running back on the week. So you draft him, you say, fuck it, whatever it is, what it is. When Alexander Madison plays, he's going to play good. When Cook plays, Cook's going to play good. Now, some people are worried about Dalvin Cook because of the change at head coach going to Kevin O'Connell, the former Rams offensive coordinator, and they think, oh, that means they're going to pass the ball more, which could be the case, and that's going to screw over Dalvin Cook. But I think actually if they're passing the ball more, that gives more opportunity for Dalvin Cook to see less stacked boxes and for the defense to kind of have their head on a swivel. And maybe we see more Dalvin Cook in terms of the receiving game as well. Dalvin Cook is not someone that's going to be putting up a crazy target season, but maybe he could this year if the offensive coordinator change involves dumping the ball off a little more for Kirk Cousins. So I like both these guys going in the first round, as everyone should, right? There's a reason why they go in the first round.
Yeah, you're wrong here. Dalvin Cook has crazy upside. He has like number 1 overall running back upside. Still
No, I
just
think
27. Oh, I thought you were well ahead on Justin Jefferson. I mean, obviously he goes further ahead in ADP, but Dalvin Cook, man, just needs 1 healthy season. He could be the number 1 overall running back with the opportunity share he already commands and the receiving upside he could gain. And the fact that his touchdown rate last year, just 2.1%, could just naturally increase. And the fact that the offense could be even more aggressive, meaning more trips to the red zone and the goal line. He's a great first round pick in best ball and in redraft, but in best ball, I think he's fantastic. Adam Thielen, I think we're underrating Adam Thielen again. This is reductionist, but the man just gets open, particularly in the end zone. What exactly else do you need? I get that he's at an advanced age, but if you don't want to take a chance on Adam Thielen in these mid rounds, he's going like closer to pick 70 than he was earlier in the year, like 75 to 78 earlier in the offseason. Take a chance on KJ Osborne, still outside the top 125 players in ADP. I think he's going to be on the field all the time. Irv Smith when he gets back healthy, but right now Osborne is healthy, and in 3 wide receiver sets, he's basically locked in, so the training camp reports say. What do you think of that?
Yeah, if you're looking for that week 17 run back up against the Packers, I've drafted a decent amount of KJ Osborne if I go in on Rodgers, and I don't like Christian Watson, so I just draft the other receivers. But I think that KJ Osborne has very interesting upside, and we did see him play last year when Thielen was banged up, and it does look like Osborne could be a potential number 2 in this offense if Thielen was to just vanish away and leave. But it's pretty clear that Thielen's the number 2 guy. He gets drafted even higher on some other sites where he goes around pick 50, and I'm still fine drafting him there because I really think Thielen and Justin Jefferson could both kind of supplant themselves as top 12 receivers in fantasy football. Like you said, the touchdown total is crazy with Adam Thielen. Adam Thielen played significantly less games than Justin Jefferson, and they scored the exact same amount of touchdowns. It's pretty clear when Thielen is healthy that Kirk Cousins just loves throwing the ball to him in the red zone. And you wouldn't necessarily think that based upon the build that Thielen has compared to Justin Jefferson, but somehow that grit gets its way in the end zone, and Adam Thielen always scores. So I love Adam Thielen, and he is one of my favorite picks. I was kind of puffing some wind into his sails. I don't even know if that's the correct fucking analogy to use here, but I was
You got it.
banging the drums aggressively from the mountaintops on Adam Thielen 5 months ago, and I'm just as excited right now in August. So I'm firing aggressively on Adam Thielen. He's one of my highest owned players in all of best ball.
Me too. No, nothing to add there because I completely agree. I'll just say Alexander Madison continues to be pretty low in ADP and absolutely fine from an upside perspective, and I think he'll have a role in this offense even without an injury to Dalvin Cook. The division favorites, the Green Bay Packers, 11 wins is their win total right now. They have a new offensive coordinator in Adam Stenavich, I believe is how you pronounce it. He was the run game coordinator and offensive line coordinator last year. They lose Devontae Adams. They gain Sammy Watkins, and they draft Christian Watson, who is missed time early in training camp. Not a good thing for Aaron Rodgers, or linking up with Aaron Rodgers. But Romeo Doubs, their late round pick, has been making noise in training camp. This passing game is almost secondary despite having the MVP at quarterback. It's the running backs you got to take a chance on. Aaron Jones going 18th overall, and A.J. Dillon sneaking inside the top 65 players in some draft platforms. How are you feeling about this running attack? Do you have a preference for Aaron Jones or A.J. Dillon, or at ADP, are they both fine plays in best ball?
Yeah, I am someone who has significantly more Aaron Jones compared to AJ Dillon. I do think Aaron Jones is going to be the guy, and I think it is going to take an injury to Aaron Jones for AJ Dillon to really be good in fantasy. But I have moved my opinion a bit on AJ Dillon to be more positive towards him because I do understand that he does have value even when Aaron Jones is healthy. It's just not the crazy upside that I think some people see where, oh, maybe even when Jones is healthy, AJ Dillon could put up a crazy season. I personally just don't see that. But I do think that if something was to happen to Aaron Jones, that AJ Dillon could be a top 5 running back in fantasy football. And I think if Aaron Jones even is able to stay healthy all season, that I've seen reports that they want to be using Dillon and Jones on the field at the exact same time. And that could be very beneficial towards AJ Dillon potentially vulturing a bunch of touchdowns. And because I think they would kind of use that package closer to the red zone. So I think Dillon he's getting drafted pretty highly. I'm not too sure I love pick 66, but at the end of the day, the upside is certainly there for a team that seems to be committing more to the fact that AJ Dillon can catch passes, even though in the past I'd make jokes about how he has stone hands like Derrick Henry. But all the reports out of training camp are more positive on his pass catching abilities when compared to the prior seasons.
Week 12 on, or week 11 on, 17 opportunities, 15 opportunities, 8 opportunities, 12 opportunities, 17 opportunities, 15 opportunities. And then against San Francisco, he had only 7. So Aaron Jones, healthier at that point, with an extra week of rest, didn't help that much. A.J. Dillon can be an incredible league-winning player. I'm sorry. I think in best ball, he is a fantastic pick.
Yeah.
You have to give up a certain amount. Like, you have to give up possibly on a Thielen type of player by taking him at this spot. But I think the fact that his ADP is creeping up into that 6th to 8th round range is a sign of ADP in general being very savvy on these sites, because the upside is so immense. Bottom line here, I think I will take a ton of chances on A.J. Dillon. Aaron Jones is a when he falls kind of player for me. The passing game, Allen Lazard is going to be this wide receiver 1, but I don't. This is tough because you're not getting that much of a discount on any of these players. Earlier in the offseason, when there was more uncertainty, Allen Lazard was going almost 30 picks later. He's moved up from 102 to 74. Christian Watson's the main one that's moved the opposite direction, down. And then it's Romeo Doubs, or Dobbs, however you pronounce it. To me, I still have to take shots on these, what I'm calling backdoor Packer stacks, because they're fairly easy to make in these drafters and underdog drafts.
Yeah, I'm a big Randall Cobb guy. It seems as though
Really?
Yeah, it seems like Aaron Rodgers does genuinely care about chemistry, though. I'm going to be honest. Like, if Randall Cobb
That's the
makes
truth.
it to week 17, could magically Randall Cobb score the game winning touchdown to win you this tournament in week 17? Potentially, because Rodgers trusts him. And that's really only it. I know Randall Cobb's old as fuck. The guy's ancient. It's not like he's some spry Randall Cobb, but we saw last year at points there were games where Cobb looked good, and that was with Devontae Adams. Now Devontae Adams is out of the equation. I'm going to say something right now, and this might be a hot take. I'm fine drafting Romeo Dubs, however you say this guy's last name. I apologize to him. I'm fine drafting right now, pick 151, 160 where he falls. But this reeks of Marquez Callaway 2.0, where this guy scores a touchdown or two in one of these preseason games. People just blow their load on their TV, and then they just draft Romeo Dubs at pick 80, and then you feel like a dumbass. And then, like, this gives that kind of energy here. I really feel like that's what's going to happen. And I'm already all in on him, right? I've already drafted him a million times to where, hey, if his ADP moves up, I'll just stop drafting him and I'll just keep the bag I got. But it seems like his ADP is bound to move if he does anything in preseason. But I am a big Allen Lazard fan as well. I think he is pretty much the clear number 1 receiver because of the chemistry he has with Watson, with Aaron Rodgers. And I don't think that Allen Lazard is like some groundbreaking player, though. I just think he's in a good situation.
Yeah, for me, Christian Watson's still my favorite player to draft, especially at the discount. His dominator rating, which is his average percent of team yards and team touchdowns in college, it was 90th percentile among all prospects. Now, he did play at, I forget what it's called, like a Division II school, FCS school, NDSU, but his athletic measurements are fantastic. So at that discounted ADP, that's my favorite player. There you have it. That is the NFC North. Still think the Green Bay Packers sneak away with the division, but if the Vikings end up winning this division by 1 or 2 games, no surprises by me. That has been the fantasy breakdown here. Lots of fun. Follow Nick at NotoriousFNTSY. Follow me at Draftaholic. Until next time, he's Nick. I'm Matt. We'll see you guys later.